Hello there, my setup is not the most ideal right now, but we're going to have to make do. I recently purchased a new camera and one that I'm very excited about. I've had a lot of fun shooting it and I thought I'd just make a video to show you some of the photos and the things I like and the things I don't like, and if you should buy one or not, I personally think you should. This camera is a Fuji X-Pro3. It is one of the best cameras I've ever used and I love it so much. The reason I bought this camera is because I wanted a new digital camera that could feel like film, because I love film, I love the way it feels, I love the way the camera feels, I love the results that you get straight out of camera. So yeah, I just like the way the film looks, and I just really like the way film cameras feel and how sturdy they feel and how mechanical they feel. I did search around for a few different cameras and I was going to get a Canon EOS R, even though it has nothing that I wanted. It was just full frame and I was like, wow, to upgrade from my 80D I need full frame. That was pretty much my mindset for a month or two. I finally came back to realising I just need something that will make me want to go out and shoot, and that is exactly what this is. It just makes me want to go out and shoot every time I pick it up. So on this camera I got the 35 f2. I was going to go for the 1.4, but I did a little research and found out that this one is weather resistant. Living in the UK, weather resistance is quite essential because it can just rain at any moment, and if you have a non-weather resistant lens it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Anyway, on to the things I like about this camera. The design. Look at that design, look how good that is. Just look at that. It is a rangefinder style mirrorless camera, and the really cool thing about it, there is no giant screen on the back unless you plug it down. There you go, there's the screen. But yeah, with this camera, because it is a rangefinder style, you look at it over here, and the really cool thing with this camera is the viewfinder. It has an optical viewfinder, which a lot of mirrorless cameras don't have because obviously there's no mirrors, but with this one it has an optical one, which is literally just you're looking through that and it's got some frame lines. But the other really cool thing is, if you don't want to look through this optical viewfinder, you can pull this little, I'm not sure if it's going to focus, that little lever there. If you pull this way, it turns into an electrical viewfinder, which is just so cool. And if you pull it back again, it goes back to optical. The really cool thing is, if you push this that way instead of pulling it that way, you can actually get a little electronic view along with your optical view, so you don't have to worry that your photo isn't going to turn out how you thought it would, because you can see the photo. This is the first FujiFilm camera that I've owned, and I can't lie, I am sort of loving Fuji now. Another really cool thing is, with this camera, even though it's crop sensor, for some reason I do not understand how it looks like full frame. I think I can notice the difference between crop sensor and full frame quite easy, especially with portraits, but with this thing it's a lot harder to tell. You still can tell, but like only a tiny bit. Like the depth is just crazy, the image quality is insane, and I'm just like, I love it. I love it so much. The lens that I've got on here, I mentioned it before, is the 35mm f2. I was going to go for the 23mm f2 because I do like a wider field of view, but that was mainly for street photography. But I also want to do portraits with this thing because I know how good it can be for portraits, and that is the reason why I went for the 35mm, because on a crop sensor it ends up being a 50mm. One of the amazing things with Fuji lenses, and some other lenses like, you know, other brands, but like I'm pretty sure almost every single Fuji lens has this, if not every lens. It has a physical Aperture Dial. So yeah, this camera is amazing, it feels amazing, and another really cool thing is you're not constantly looking at your photos, which I tend to do. I tend to just take a photo and then look at it, and then I miss another shot that happens. I'm just like, why did I do that? When I'm using this camera, I can have that extra confidence because it just feels so nice in the hands. And like, normally if I'm shooting street photography with my 80D, like that I'm recording with right now, I just feel a bit like I'm in the way, but with this I can just be like, bam, photo done. And it's got a really nice shutter sound as well, listen. Very nice. One of my favourite things about this camera, and just Fujifilm cameras in general, is the film simulations. You can apply these film simulations to your photos, which gives you the look of certain old classic Fujifilm films. But you can also make your own, and I have made, well, I say I just searched it up and copied it, a Portra 400 film simulation because I love the look of Portra. Everyone loves the look of Portra. A lot of videos that I've watched about Fujifilm cameras, they're like, oh, it has all these trying to mimic film and this and that, but it's not film and it doesn't feel anything like film. To me it does. When I'm walking around with my Canon Model 7, which is a very similar styling to this, I feel amazing. It's heavy, it has a nice feel to it, I just feel cool and just like, it gives me this confidence. And it is the exact same with this camera, except I'm not worried about taking too many shots and missing images that could potentially be really good. But that also is a downside because I am a lot more like, oh, let's get many photos of this and that, and just like really random stuff that I don't really need to take a photo of, but at least it gives me that freedom to experiment and be like, oh, okay, maybe that wasn't the best thing to take a photo of, which is quite costly when you do that with film, because if I take a photo and I don't like it on film, I can't do anything. It's cost me money. Like, that is money down the drain, essentially. Right, on to the negatives, since we just sort of said a negative then, that you can be trigger happy and you can just take as many photos as you want and you're not really thinking too much about like, oh, is that really worth it? Another negative is the battery life. As soon as I got this camera, I charged it up, went out and took some photos, and after about 2 or 3 hours of shooting, I was like, oh, okay, I'm on 19% now. I'm gonna need to charge, but I didn't have anywhere to charge it, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna need to get multiple batteries for this camera, which is exactly what I did. I just went to a camera shop that was in Falmouth, since I was shooting there, and I got a battery because I need it, and it was quite cheap, to be fair. One thing that does quite annoy me about this camera is this dial here, the exposure compensation dial. It's so easy to just accidentally move, especially when you're just walking about and you've got your thumb here and you actually go, oh, and you don't realise, and then you take a photo and it's really underexposed or it's really overexposed. While I do love the back of this camera with the little mini screen there that shows your film simulations, it is quite frustrating when you need to have that screen if you're taking a photo like that, because it is quite big, and I really like the fully articulating screens where you can just like properly turn it and get low. So if I'm like standing up, I'm looking down, I can't really do that very well with this camera because it's there and it's essentially just like having a screen that doesn't move there, which is quite annoying because you can't really see and you have to get, you know, quite low. I just find it quite frustrating, but you know, there's a reason for it to be like that. It's meant to be up to your eye and, you know, immersively taking photos, which I'm guessing is not great if you want to take some low shots or portraits or anything like that. To be honest, I can't really think of any more negatives about this camera. It is amazing and I 100% recommend everyone to get it. Like, it is the sort of camera that just makes you want to take photos and it makes you feel happy about taking photos, and that's what I love about film. If I see one of my film cameras, I'm like, I need to go take photos today. Like, it's just that giddiness that I don't get with digital cameras apart from this one. It is just so cool and I love it. It's amazing. I'd really like to see a full frame version of a camera like this, and I wish Fujifilm done that, but I think they made an announcement saying they're only doing crop sensor cameras and medium format cameras. Speaking of medium format, I did actually get to use a Fujifilm GFX 50S a few days ago. I put the photos here. It was fun to use, but it's so slow and the autofocus is terrible. To be fair, that brings me back to another positive about this camera. The autofocus is good. Don't listen to people saying the autofocus is bad. It is really good. I'm guessing they're saying it's bad if you're coming from an EOS R or like one of the really high-end mirrorless systems with insane autofocus. If you're like me and you're not coming from a super high-end camera, I'm coming from an 80D, it's better. It's so much better. Like, I was so scared, I was like, oh, the autofocus is going to be terrible, this and that. It's so fast, it's so quick, it's so snappy, and when I use my Canon 80D, I'm just like, oh, this is slow. This is really slow. So I'm guessing that's what they feel. Say like they're using an EOS R and they come to this, they're like, oh, okay, this is slow, which is understandable, but for most people, you're not going to be coming from one of those cameras, you're going to be coming from an older camera. To wrap it up, I love this camera. I think you should get one, and if you do, let me know, and let me know what you think about it, because they are just amazing, and I love this camera so much. I've taken some amazing photos already. It just makes me feel good when I take photos of it, and love the look of it. Look how nice it is. But anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a long one. Go watch some of my other videos. I'll probably make another video soon. Actually, in fact I will, because I've recorded one, but I just need to get some photos developed. I'll probably do that tomorrow, so yeah. Bye bye, have fun, get one of these.